Back at it again, and we have one with Ben Shapiro talking about a topic that has been in the news quite a bit lately. With that being said, let's dive in.
Massive controversy breaking out in Russia. The WNBA's Brittany Griner was convicted Thursday in Russia of possession and smuggling and sentenced to 9 years behind bars in a politically charged case that could lead to a high-stakes prisoner exchange between Washington and Moscow, according to the Associated Press. The 31-year-old Griner, two-time U.S. Olympic champion, eight-time All-Star with the WNBA's Phoenix Mercury, listened with a blank expression as an interpreter translated the verdict by Judge Anna Sotnikova. Her lawyer said she was very upset. Griner was fined 1 million rubles, is about $17,000. Outside the court, the U.S. Embassy Chargé d'Affaires Elizabeth Root called the outcome a miscarriage of justice. She's been detained since February 17th after the police said they found vape cartridges containing cannabis oil in her luggage upon landing in Moscow's airport. She was returning to Russia, where she has competed since 2014. The 9-year sentence was close to the maximum of 10 years Griner had faced under the charges. Most Russians possessing small quantities of get at most 5 years in prison.
Sheesh. Wow. So they gave her almost double what most Russians would get. And I got to admit, that I feel like 9 years, it's a bit steep. It's a bit steep. Just looking at it from just a clear-eyed view, like a non-biased perspective, because I have my thoughts on this situation. But from a non-biased perspective, 9 years for a vape cartridge? Like those little, like liquid little things? Like, now maybe she had like an entire, suitcase full of them. Now, if that's the case, you got a different story. But if she had like one little tube of that liquid, even just a few of them, just obviously you got a couple replacements. It's a bit steep. 9 years, but hey, you broke the law, so.
Griner apologized to her family, teammates, and the Russian city of Yekaterinburg, where she plays in the WNBA offseason. Here she was apologizing yesterday.
I want to apologize to my teammates, my club, Gemka, the fans, and the city of ECAT for my mistake that I made and the embarrassment that I brought onto them. I want to also apologize to my parents, my siblings, my Phoenix Mercury organization back at home, the amazing women of the WNBA.
Oh, I think she going down the wrong route. You better be apologizing to the people in Russia. That's where you at right now. You better make some apologies to them.
And my amazing spouse back at home. I never meant to hurt anybody. I never meant to put in jeopardy the Russian population. I never meant to break any laws here. I made an honest mistake, and I hope that in your ruling that it doesn't end my life here.
Okay, so the idea that is prosecuting her for bringing a fairly small amount of into the country obviously raises political questions. Does this mean that she's a political prisoner in the same way that say, many other people in Russia are political prisoners? Seems doubtful to me. She did, in fact, violate law. She is not a person who's being put in jail because of her politics. The idea here from the United States, presumably, is that she is being held by the Russians as a sort of bargaining chip. But again, the reality of Brittany Griner as compared with some of the other Americans who are being detained is not quite the same thing. So Brittany Griner is not the only person who's being held in custody over what would be minor charges. There's another person whose name is Whelan, who has been arrested in Russia as well. He was arrested for the crime of apparently resisting arrest after some sort of drunken brawl with the cops. As Paul Whelan, he's been imprisoned in Russia on an espionage.
Sheesh. You over in Russia trying to fight? Nah, see, I'm walking away from any and all altercations. If I'm in a different country, no, bro, you got it. Nope, I'm gonna go back to my hotel. I'm gonna see y'all later. I'm not getting into any fights in another country. No, absolutely not. Do y'all agree? Let me know in the comment section. Forget the ego, all that, the macho, the manly bravado. Like, no, all that goes out the window when you're in another country. It just gone. I'm walking away. Tuck my tail between my legs and scurry off. Yep, you won. So what? I'm making it back home, though. Sheesh.
Conviction, which again that one seems pretty wild. Like, I'm not sure where the case is for espionage. The Biden administration, nonetheless, has been talking about actually trading active to the Russians to get back Griner and Whelan. That seems like a massive mistake. I mean, trading away actively dangerous criminals, for people who have committed minor crimes or resisting arrest crimes in Russia. The question as to whether that's in America's interest, I mean, there's no question that Griner actually committed the crime. I mean, she said that she committed the crime. It doesn't mean that Russia isn't discriminating against her or attempting to use her as a political pawn, but it is to suggest that this is not quite the same thing as a pure political prisoner situation. Griner's agent Lindsay Kawaga-Kola said the sentence was severe by Russian legal standards and goes to prove what we have known all along: Brittany is being used as a political pawn. A conviction is usually needed before arranging a prisoner exchange and also allows Griner to apply for a pardon. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said last month the necessary judicial procedures must be completed before other steps can be taken. The U.S. State Department had earlier declared Griner to be wrongfully detained, a charge that Russia has sharply rejected. She said that she pled guilty, by the way, on the charges against her. She had no intention of breaking any Russian law. Griner described a confusing scene while being held at the airport, saying an interpreter provided by authorities translated only a fraction of what was being said to her, and that officials told her to sign documents without explaining what they were. She said she was not informed of her rights. Her lawyers introduced evidence that Griner was using medical care for chronic pain and injuries sustained during her career, included a letter from her doctor. Griner said she knew that oil was outlawed in Russia and had not intended to break the law or plan to smuggle anything into Russia. But of course, she did smuggle something into Russia. To break the law or plan to smuggle anything into Russia. But of course, she did smuggle something into Russia. Again, I mention here that the Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that Washington has offered to trade away a convicted named Viktor Bout for both Whelan and Griner. Russian media have speculated that Griner could be swapped for Bout, nicknamed the Merchant of Death. He is serving a 25-year sentence in the United States after being convicted of conspiracy to kill American citizens and provide aid to a terrorist organization. Russia has agitated for Bout's release for years. That seems like a bad swap to me. I mean, I'm sorry, that just does not seem like a good swap. We are not talking about trading a convicted trafficker like Konstantin Yaroshenko for Trevor Reed, right? That was a former U.S. Marine detained in Russia. You're talking about trading away a guy who actually was convicted of and attempts to aid and abet for a basketball player who knew that she was bringing an illegal into Russia. Joe Biden put out a statement saying, quote, today.
I want to say there was another recent situation as well. I believe a teacher, I think it was just happened actually, has been detained in Russia for, I want to say basically the same thing, medical or in the luggage, which is just crazy. Like, knowing Brittany Griner's situation, which most people know about, you get caught bringing that into the same country. Why would you do such a thing? You know what I mean? Like, you should be checking, rechecking, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking your luggage to make sure no BS is in there. But hey, I think it was a male teacher. If you know about that story, let me know in the comment section. So it'll be interesting to see what they do about that as well.
American citizen Brittany Griner received a prison sentence that is one more reminder of what the world already knew. Russia is wrongfully detaining Brittany. It's unacceptable. I call on Russia to release her immediately so she can be with her wife, loved ones, friends, and teammates. My administration will work to tirelessly and pursue every possible avenue to bring Brittany and Paul Whelan home safely as soon as possible. Now, here's the thing. There are actually people who are being detained in Russia for political purposes, and you don't know their names. You know Brittany Griner's name because she's a basketball player in a league that nobody watches. But you don't know some of the names of people like Vladimir Karamurza. And he's a Washington Post contributing columnist who happens to be anti-Putin. According to the Washington Post editorial board, he was arrested in Moscow in April on a sham charge of disobeying the police, then indicted on a charge of public dissemination of knowingly false information about the Russian military. Now, Karamurza's lawyer says the authorities are preparing yet another bogus charge, this time for participating in a non-governmental organization deemed undesirable in Russia under a law first approved in 2015. Karamurza still hasn't been indicted on the charge. His lawyers said they know little more, but they know the method. In an endless carousel of arbitrary prosecutions, the same approach has been employed to unjustly imprison Alexei Navalny, Russia's most prominent opposition figure, and most recently, Ilya Yashin, an opposition leader accused of spreading false information about the military, reportedly for discussing on his YouTube channel the in Bucha, Ukraine, by Russian troops. On July 8th, a Moscow court sentenced local politician Alexei Goranov to 7 years in prison under the same provision. Goranov said in court, I'm convinced this war is the fastest route to dehumanization. When the line between good and evil is blurred, war is always violence and blood, torn bodies and severed limbs. It's always death. I do not accept this and reject it.
Wow.
Andrei Soldatov and Irina Borogan.
Never heard of any of those names that he's mentioning right now.
Russian journalists who have written often in Foreign Affairs say that the Federal Security Service, or SSB, has been turned into far more expansive arm of the increasingly ruthless state. There have been over 16,400 detentions of people taking a stance against since it began. but we're supposed to focus all of our ire on the detention of a basketball player who plays in Russia apparently every year and brought drugs into the country. Like, two things can be true at once. Russia is detaining this person for far too long, and also, why are we trading for a person who commits drug crimes in Russia? This does not seem like the best available deal.
I agree. Two things can be true at once. She's just a random basketball player, and yeah, we're trading away someone who truly committed a crime, like a very, very serious crime. And honestly, I don't know how Brittany Griner is so popular, how people know the name so much, because when you really look at the viewership numbers for the WNBA, I mean, it is garbage. You look at the attendance numbers to those games. I mean, just when the next time a WNBA game is on TV, which is very rare, take a look at how many people are in the crowd, how many empty seats you see at every single game. As a matter of fact, I want to say Bill Burr had a little spat about that in one of his specials, how, you know, a lot of the staunch feminists out there, you know, cry about the WNBA players not getting paid the same as NBA players, and yet none of those same women have been to a WNBA game or even go support those women. And they don't acknowledge that they don't bring in the same revenue because of that. If you went to the games and actually supported those players, their salaries would come up. But people would rather be out in the street yelling and screaming than actually doing something, of course. So that's become a recurring theme, hasn't it? Unfortunately. So yeah, what do you guys propose we do? I do think if we're looking at this from a non-biased perspective, non-biased, right? She did say that she hates America and yada, yada, yada. I get that. But from a non-biased perspective, I do think that punishment is very steep. It is steep. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. All right? Now, whether we like it or not, that's their laws. But at the same time, I do feel like that 9 years for a little cartridge, it's crazy. It's crazy. But like I said, that is their laws. Do I think we should help? To a certain extent. To a certain extent. I don't think we should be exchanging who they're trying to exchange for, her and the other gentleman. Now, maybe what about this? If we exchange the guy we have for Brittany and all of the people that Ben Shapiro named, and any other Americans, including the teacher that I believe has been detained over there, for the guy, would you guys take that deal? Because if we're going to exchange someone that's that high profile, that committed that type of crime here, we're going to have to increase those numbers, in my humble opinion. Like, it's going to have to be, 5+ people that are getting freed, because that's a serious issue, crime that the other guy committed. So, yeah, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Obviously, I'm not too knowledgeable on all of this and how that all works and the inner workings of exchanging people or exchanging prisoners from country to country. But I look at it from a sports perspective, right? I feel like that guy that we're exchanging is like, I don't know, who's a top player in the NBA right now. It's like a LeBron James, right? If you trade away LeBron James or Giannis Antetokounmpo, you expect to get a boatload back in return. And that's kind of the way that I look at it from a sports perspective. But y'all let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button before you go. And if you've been to Russia, what has been your experience? Let me know. Peace and love. I'm out.